Fargo mortgage, and I've been asked to tell you my story today, so here it is. In November '06, I decided it was time that I'd buy a house. So I went to a good friend, and she forwarded me off to someone who said, this guy's really good, he can help you. He was a Wells Fargo lender. But, unfortunately, due to divorce and a bankruptcy, my position was very precarious and I couldn't get what I needed. So he referred me up to somebody, we'll just call somebody Joe, okay? Joe, well, said he could get me into an 80-20, 30-year fixed, okay? It was fixed, so I was happy with that. He knew from the start that I was a year out of a bankruptcy and had just discharged that year. But he was not, in his defense, he was not a Wells Fargo lender. All right? All was well, but then in the 11th hour, they decided to tell me, we can't get you a fixed loan. Your first loan is going to have to be a variable. So I was put in a 228, and we figured after a year of good payments and proving that I was a good mortgage holder, that they would then refinance me. I thought, okay, I have no problems with this. I can refinance in a year. January '08, I attempt to finance my loan. Wells Fargo refused me because my credit score wasn't high enough, but it was higher than when I first bought my house. In July of '08, I attempted to refinance again, and they refused for the same reason, but it was still higher than the first time I bought my house. In September of '08, we all know what happened then. That's when the housing market started to totally fall off of its pedestal, and we were all in a bad shape. I got children here. In January '09, I finally decided, okay, I'm going to attempt to restructure with a company. I qualified under all levels. I paid more than 50% of my mortgage. My home was now worth less than what I owed as the housing market continued to plummet. And I was in a variable mortgage. So I hit on all three levels that you needed to hit in order to get a restructure through the government programs. I was refused because I made too much money. Now, mind you, in the last 3 months of my company's, in the last 3 months of the year, my company does a lot of extra work, so there's a lot of overtime. When I approved me for my loan in '06, I was not allowed to include overtime, nor did they calculate it in my pay scale. When I applied for the restructure, I did not include overtime, but they calculated it in my pay scale and included it and refused me, and that is why I made too much money. They told me they were closing out my file, and I was instructed to wait to reapply until April of '09, which I did. Again, I was refused. Through the course of this reapplication, I was called by a Wells Fargo representative one day saying, you've been refused. A couple days later, I was called. I've got your file. Well, how can you have my file? I've been refused. A couple days later, you've been refused. A couple days, literally, over a matter of 3 weeks, I got 4 or 5 phone calls either saying I was refused or someone had my file. Nobody knew what was going on with me, except me, and they weren't listening to me. So I was on my own. I was again refused, and for the final time, why was I refused? Because I pay biweekly. I was ahead on my mortgage. I was actually 1 payment ahead. Therefore, they refused me because I was not delinquent.
That ain't right.
Right. So when there other people called me who had my second files, the last and final time, why was I refused? Because their investors would not like my risk. They just told me I was refused because I was a good client. But their investors won't like my risk because my debt-to-income ratio was too high, but it's lower than it was in 2006 when I bought my home. My credit score wasn't high enough. I have a 750 credit score. Don't tell me it's not high enough. October 22nd, I received a letter that I was late on my mortgage. How can you be late when you pay bi-weekly? October 28th, I received a letter after spending 2 hours on the phone with them that since I was such a good customer, that they refused to refinance me, by the way, but I'm such a good customer, they're going to take back the late fee I got for being on my mortgage that I wasn't late on, that what they did was put my mortgage towards principal and not towards my mortgage, making it sound like I was the one in the wrong. I sent them a letter for record that I am most definitely not in the wrong. Wells Fargo has refused me for the same reasons they financed me. My income-to-debt ratio is too low, or my income is too high. And the most impressive, their investors won't like my risk. But they were willing to take that risk, giving me the loan when I made less money. I am such a risk, but I am ahead in my payments, as I know I'm one of the lucky ones. Wells Fargo is willing to let me fail or foreclose before allowing me to refinance to a reasonable fixed rate. All I want is a one payment, one rate mortgage. That's all I'm asking. They've jacked me around, they're jacking every one of you in this room around, and they want us to stay on these mortgages when the rates go up so they can cash in.
That is right.
Wells Fargo has cashed in. They have received $25 billion in funds. How much of that have they paid back? None.
Zero.
Not one dime. They were paid with our hard-earned money and our tax dollars. We own them. We are their investors. We deserve something in return.
Okay, real quick, if you can refer to your tips for a fun hit sheet. We all are going to have fun today, but there are some things we have to refer to and some rules we have to sort of play by just to make sure everyone stays safe and doesn't get arrested. And that's the big thing. So why do we go on hits? I think Ms. Leibnick said it well. Basically, we're going back because we own this bank pretty much. We do. We do. And so we're going to show them that, we don't have money for fancy lobbyists or, expensive attorneys, but we do have our voices and we have numbers. And so we're going there to lobby on our own behalf. We have been empowered to lobby on our own behalfs. So they're going to be fun and they're usually effective. I think Mr. Ross can probably tell you about the Chase hit, how we got 80 workouts after showing up with 100 people at a Chase branch and all around the state of Ohio.
Within a week.
By no means it isn't. As long as you don't hit anyone, throw objects at anyone,
No biting.
no biting, no threats. It's just sort of like if someone were to come and knock on your door. We're all customers. We're just going in there to tell them, you have to deal with all of us at once. So by no means is it against the law. What will happen? We'll go over the agenda a little bit, but the leadership team is going to be headed up by Debbie Devney, and behind her will be leaders Jim Ross. And so the goal is to get the branch manager to basically agree to call Richard Kovacevic, who is the chairman of CEO, the head honcho. We have his home phone number, which his wife was home yesterday when I called, so she's still there. And we also have his office number. So he has two ways to call him. So if he says, I don't know the number, we say, well, here, we have it for you. So he has no excuse to call him. And the guy is a little, slick cat. His name's Bobby G. So if you feel And so our only goal, besides, is the major goal is to get the branch manager to call, because the major goal is to have a meeting with this chairman so we can save our homes, basically. Bring them to the table and tell them that the poor lending practices are unsuitable, we're not taking it anymore. The big golden rule, though, is when the leadership team's arms go up, and everyone do this for me? That means everyone's arm goes up and you be quiet. That means either negotiations are happening, something's going down. So even if you can't hear, if you're in the back, you just gotta keep your arm up and go quiet. And then once people start chanting and the arms go down, you can go crazy, be loud, have fun. Not too crazy, no breaking of property or anything. But so the two other big rules: have fun and be loud. So be as loud as you can. We're not just driving out there just for the hell of it. We want to be loud and let them know that we're there. And so they're always a ton of fun. They're kind of a rush and a gentleman rush. It'll be a lot of fun, but you're also doing something good while you're there. So what shouldn't you do? And this is probably one of the most important things too. I know I'm saying a lot of important stuff. Don't physically be in contact with any of the bank staff, no matter how angry you get. Remember, we're all here together. We're all one big team. So don't touch anyone physically. Throw any objects, including small plastic sharks, at any other individual, including ESOP members, but especially bank staff. Any sort of violence